Everyone always asks how to get fit, but how does one get fat in the first place? In 2019, I was in the best shape of my life, and by 2021, I had put on nearly 100 pounds. And no, it wasn't just because of the pandemic, although that played a role. In this video, I'm breaking down everything that I believe led to my massive weight gain, so you can spot these things in your own life before they sneak up on you. I'm going to walk you through what a typical day of eating looked like when I was gaining weight, along with my mindset around food, which I really believe set me back and led to my massive weight gain. I'm also going to share a specific moment in my life, something that I think everybody's going to have to deal with at some point, which marked the beginning of my destructive habits and led me down a path to gain a ton of weight. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you the single most important thing that I did to finally get back on track and lose 100 pounds. So let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious one, diet. It's no secret that if you have a poor diet and you eat too much, you're going to gain weight. But what does eating too much actually look like in real life? And how do you know if you're doing it? It can be quite difficult to know if you're eating too much or too little without hiring a coach to write a meal plan for you, or doing the research yourself to find your maintenance calories and track your food every day to make sure that you're eating the amount that you want to. So let's talk about what a day of eating looked like when I noticed that I was gaining a lot of weight. For me, it started with skipping breakfast. Now you might think, wait, Marty, isn't eating less actually a good thing? Well, in theory, yes. But here's the problem. Skipping breakfast led me to overcompensate later. I never really wake up hungry, and now that I'm fit, I do intentionally eat breakfast just because I know it's good to fuel yourself in the morning, especially before a workout. But the truth is, I'm just not that hungry in the morning. So at the beginning of my weight gain journey, I would wait until lunch or even after work some days to eat my first meal. And by then I was starving. And when you're starving, you make bad choices. That's where fast food comes in, especially my favorite, Chick-fil-A. My usual order was 2 spicy chicken sandwiches, 2 large fries, a chocolate milkshake, and a large sweet tea. And yes, I would eat all of it and still be hungry afterwards. That's over 2,800 calories, not counting the sauce, all in my first meal of the day. So number one, I would say if you're skipping breakfast now and having a starved crash out later in the day, you're off to a bad start, which is a good thing because now you know. Part of my problem was that I was using food purely as a way to satisfy myself. So let's dig in a little deeper to see what that actually looked like. We already know that my breakfast at 5 p.m. was about 3,000 calories of Chick-fil-A, but what happened after that? I'll tell you that I definitely didn't go home and cook chicken and rice. Once I got hungry again, I was looking to chase the high, so to speak. So my go-to move would be to order a pizza or grab a couple of DiGiorno pizzas on the way home from work. Because if I've already had fast food, then pizza was my next best option. I'd eat an entire DiGiorno pizza to myself, roughly 2,000 calories, while binge watching Game of Thrones for the 5th time. Then came my real weakness, sweets. I've always had a sweet tooth, and even more so been really indecisive about what sweets I would actually get. I would spend all too much time in the bakery perusing the cakes, cookies, and donuts, then consider the Little Debbie snacks, but I almost always settled on Toll House cookies. I had a real problem. I'd eat as much as I could stomach while washing it down with as much milk as I could pour before eventually falling asleep in front of the TV. But here's the kicker. I wouldn't stay asleep. I'd wake up, eat more sweets, go back to sleep, and then repeat that cycle about 2 or 3 more times throughout the night. This was incredibly difficult to combat because I was pretty much asleep while I was doing it. Looking back, one of the main issues was that I wasn't eating to fuel my body at all. I was only eating for pleasure, and I wouldn't start eating until I was so hungry that I couldn't think straight. I was doing this somewhat intentionally, because how much better does a meal sound when you're starving? And this was due to a much deeper issue that I'll get into next. Now each morning, I make it a point to fuel myself, not with a massive breakfast, but for something that's just enough to get me going for the day. This way, I avoid hitting that food wall to where I'm so hungry that I'm gonna grab whatever's convenient, even when it's not the right choice. Now I know what you might be thinking. Of course you gained 100 pounds eating like that. And you'd be right, but the truth is my poor diet was just a side effect of a much deeper issue. Now that we have our how to gain 100 pounds in 3 months meal plan, let's talk about why I think I was eating so much. A lack of self-worth. It's hard to pinpoint the exact moment where things went wrong for most people, but not for me. I actually have it on video. My wife and I worked at a powerlifting gym for a few years, and at the time we were in the best shape of both of our lives. We did a Spartan race together, we trained every day together, although our training goals were a bit different. We opened the gym every weekday at 5:30 a.m. and we loved every minute of it. We ended up getting pretty close with the morning crew there as well. The same group of lifters who showed up every single day before most people had their first cup of coffee. And being around that kind of energy every day really rubs off on you. Before we knew it, we weren't just opening the gym, we were adopting goals, routines, and knowledge from these people. That crew changed the way that we approached lifting and fitness. It made us want to be better and really gave us an appreciation for hard work. Slowly, we stopped seeing ourselves as people who just worked at the gym, and we became a part of the crew. And eventually, they had convinced us to set some real goals. That's when I began training for a powerlifting competition, and my wife began training for a bodybuilding competition. But my dreams would soon be cut short. And this is where my self-worth would take a dive. I was training my ass off for this competition, as was my wife. We were in full stride, hurtling towards our goals, and everything was going perfectly. Until one day, I decided to put a little too much on the deadlift bar, and I hurt my back. No big deal, I just decided that I would keep lifting and just go a lot lighter for a few weeks until it got better. But then I hurt my back again, this time with 12-pound kettlebells. I went straight to urgent care and got an x-ray, although it didn't show any signs of damage. They suggested that I go to my primary care doctor and get it checked out, which I didn't do for about 3 months. So I'm not exactly sure what I did, but when I did eventually go to my primary care doctor, he suggested that I may have herniated a disc. I still feel the effects of this 6 years later. Right after my injury, I took about 2 weeks off of work. I also worked at a restaurant at the time, and I planned on getting back in the gym once I rested a bit. The injury caused me a lot of pain and discomfort, and going from lifting every day to sitting around trying to get better was driving me insane. After my self-pity break, I went back to the gym and started to do some rehab, but this only lasted about a week. My mobility was terrible after the injury, I was still in a lot of pain, and the fact that I knew I wouldn't be back to lifting heavy anytime soon was incredibly discouraging. This hurt worse than the back injury. My dreams of competing were shot, my outlet for stress was gone, and I let this affect every aspect of my life. I had a sudden identity shift from aspiring powerlifter to fat front desk guy at the gym. I became that guy instantly, and long before I actually gained the weight. And I was already on a bit of a bulk when I got injured, so I just added on to that. Slowly but surely, week after week, I got fatter and fatter, I moved less, I ate more, and I aligned further with the identity that I had adopted when I got hurt. I also couldn't stop thinking about what the morning crew must have thought. The people I lifted with, the people who saw me and my wife crushing it, and the people we learned so much from. They now saw me heading downhill fast, getting farther and farther from who I was training so hard to become. It was terrible, and instead of trying to make a change despite that, I just let it subtract from my self-worth. So, in spite of myself, I tried anything I could, except working out, to try to feel some sort of satisfaction. Some of you who are familiar with World of Warcraft might recall that in 2019, World of Warcraft Classic was released. I logged 14 days of game time in 1 month. Now, the injury really took me out, but it's not uncommon for us to experience sudden life changes that really mess up a routine or make you question yourself and who you are. For me, it was the injury, but for someone else, it could be anything. A breakup, untimely loss of a loved one, losing your job. So when life throws you a curveball, it can be really hard to take it on the chin and just keep plugging forward. Hardships are inevitable, and one of the things I've learned since completely giving up after my injury is that that's when you find out what you're really made of. It's easy to keep your stride when the wind is at your back, but it's so much harder to hit a roadblock and truly overcome it, especially when it affects more than just one aspect of your life. It took me a bit too long to come back from my injury and its aftermath. Almost 2 years. One day, I was just so sick of the person that I was acting like since being injured that I just went to the gym and did the easiest, most accomplishable workout that I could possibly imagine. Then after the gym, I drove myself to BJJ class with no idea what was in store. When you have something that you really need to do, but you really don't want to do it, the most important thing you can do is just take action. Planning is great, but I'm one that can easily get stuck in analysis paralysis, getting too wrapped up in making a plan than just starting and figuring it out as I go. Which brings me to my next and final point, action. That's really what it boils down to, just doing something. It can be the smallest thing that you can imagine, but it should be scalable. Which is why I think literally just going to the gym can change things for good. I want to share the exact workout plan that I used to get back into the gym after 2 years of absolutely no exercise after my injury. This is a plan that my wife wrote for me to get back into the gym after my injury. It's on my website right now for free. The link is in my channel bio. At the time of this video, I don't sell anything, but I like to document what I've done to achieve certain results, and I post it all on my website for free. I think that anybody can use this workout just to start. It's super low intensity, low volume, full body workouts, and anyone can do them. So go try that out if you're looking to get started. People always ask me, what was it? What was the one thing that did it for you? What was that sudden realization that you knew you needed to make a change and get back on the horse? And really, there isn't any one thing that comes to mind. Just like anything else, it was a culmination of things. The day I made the change, my son was 8 months old. My friends had already been doing BJJ, and that piqued my curiosity of getting into a combat sport. And I had already tried a few times to start lifting again, diet, and lose weight, and failed. So it was constantly on my mind that I needed to make a change. I remember something the owner of the gym told me when I had already gotten super fat. And that was, dude, you've gotten super fat. No, I'm just kidding. He did not say that. He actually said something like, hey man, you know how to get back at it, and you'll do it when you're ready. And I think that's just it, but it also takes making an uncomfortable choice. I think a lot of us are ready, so to speak, to get healthy, but we're stuck on that uncomfortable decision. It's way too easy to think of all the reasons you can't or you shouldn't go to the gym. I don't want to be the fattest guy there. I don't want to hurt myself. I'm going to be so tired and uncomfortable. What am I even going to do there? I haven't worked out in forever, or I've never worked out before. What am I going to wear? I don't want someone to make fun of me. But the truth is, if you're already thinking that you need to get healthy, you are ready. You just need to shut out your self-doubt and take action. Go grab my workout plan from my website and go to the gym. It's time to make that uncomfortable decision. And it is going to suck. It's not going to be easy and you might hate it. But if you stick with it, it'll be so worth it. Not only will you be starting down a path to lose weight, but you'll learn a lot about yourself. And your life will improve so much if you become active. It literally makes your brain function better. It increases your blood flow and oxygen. It releases dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin. It lowers cortisol. We are literally wired to move and be active. Take this as your sign to take action. Start small and start easy. Start doing something that you think might be too easy. Because I promise you, when it comes to fitness, if something seems like it's going to be too easy, that's likely exactly where you need to be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.